Thank you. Good evening, President
Lara.
Lara, members of the board, superintendent. Sorry about the names. I'm coming from out of town. I'm coming from La Mesa, California. And I drove up here from the one, all the 5 freeways all the way up here. So, but I feel so very strongly about this. But I have 4 specific items I want to speak on. But to put my speaking in context, I think you ought to know a little bit about me. I was a 32-year employee with the County of San Diego. But that's, I guess in my epitaph, that was not what I'll be known for. I've been the chair of the Sweetwater Unified School District Bond Oversight Committee for over 7 years. I'm also on the board of directors of the California League of Bond Oversight Committees. I was hired by the San Ysidro School District in San Diego County to form their Bond Oversight Committee. And on April 24th, 2007, I went before the Board of Trustees of the Sweetwater Union High School District and raised concerns about the selection of a consultant, SGI, for their bond program. I was the first witness to present this information publicly. Later on, I was called as a grand jury witness for those corruption cases. That's the context. And what this has done is given me a passion for these people that sit here and want a better education. And better education means so many things. But getting to the specific agenda items before you, the first one I wanted to talk about is, it's kind of I guess the most technical one, is item 14B1, the lease back contract. And I'll try to simplify this. What this process does, and it's been amended recently by the state legislature, was allow you to select a contractor to construct a project that is not a low bid process. It allows an element of qualification-based selection as a part of the selection of the contractor, which is all well and good. And I was involved professionally in a project, design build, slightly different, where it's that type of process. The problem is, and you have to be wary, and I'm not saying this is occurring in this case, but as a trustee, I would ask a lot of questions about the process, who was involved, who was on the selection committee, whether they had any past prior professional or personal relationships with any of the people on the firms that want the job. It's just needs a lot of scrutiny as a trustee, and I'm sure you want to spend the dollars wisely. So that's my comment on that. And the next item I want to talk about, as you can see, I'll probably be under the 15 minutes, is your item 13E9. And it really, it's an opportunity to talk about the elements of bond oversight. And how I got involved in even appearing here was I can't even believe I'm standing here, because it's like deja vu with some of the things I've read about, about the recent history about the district, the people, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not here to bash people. I'm talking about spending money wisely and managing a school district effectively based upon the screw-ups that frankly have still existed until at the Sweetwater Union High School District. It's taken forever to get out of that bad management of that bond program. And the students suffer as a result. So I got a call through the California League of Bond Oversight Committees from Esther Mejia, or an email, I should say, saying, we're having problems with our oversight committee. They're trying to disband us. They're trying to kick me off. And I go, well, they don't want real oversight. Based upon what she told me, I said, let me help you. Let me tell you what kind of questions to ask, etc. And at the very end, I asked her, who's your general counsel and managing the bond program? My mouth dropped. So the point I want to make and you need an active oversight committee if you're ever going to gain the confidence of the public that you're doing your job on this huge bond program, especially when you consider the size of the district. So I would suggest, if you haven't done it already, get your act together, get an oversight committee with some teeth to it, because I will be following it down there in La Mesa. I'm not running for anything, believe me, I'm doing this as a citizen who worked for an organization that said the noblest motive is the public good, not the personal good, the public good. And that's why I do this. I'm doing it for no other reason than that. But you need an active oversight committee. You need a selection process is handled like a job application. You gotta have an independent selection panel. You don't have friends of friends on the committee or people you think are going to be favorable to everything being appointed. You got to have it that has the credibility. Otherwise, these people are just wasting their time on the oversight committee. I don't know how much time hopefully I'm doing okay. How much? 10 minutes. Oh, okay.
9 minutes.
Sorry, 9 minutes. So my point is, I'm very passionate about it because you need a strong oversight committee to really, and really it's a second set of eyes as a trustee who's here responsible for spending the taxpayers' dollars, hey, to make sure it's really the right thing to do. Staff is overloaded at school districts. I mean, that's one of the things that struck me. The final thing I wanted to, about school districts in general compared to where I used to work, the final thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that the oversight committee, how you treat it is kind of an indication of how you value the public. If you blow them off, you're kind of sending the message that you don't believe in oversight committee. And believe me, the final statement I want to make. For those of you who know construction, and for those of us who know school districts, the lack of media attention, the lack of staff, overloaded everything, and a lot of money. It is so easy to have consultants, especially when you have qualification-based selection, have the books cooked. Believe me, I worked in the area. I could have made a ton of money if I wanted to fix things, and I didn't. So just be wary of people coming to your door wanting something in return for a contract. That was the root of all evil at the Sweetwater Unified School District. We're still paying for that dearly. The third item I wanted to talk about was a budget. The budget presentation, which was a very good presentation. You know, it was like, you talk about deja vu. This was like this is like the Sweetwater meeting last night. You know, the same kind of thing. Special ed costs, declining enrollment. You got the same problems. The fundamental conclusion is there just simply isn't enough money at the state level allocated to education. I can tell you why, working in government, why that occurs. There's a lot of nice little things that come over the years in the state budget. This senator wants this thing, this assembly wants this, and it's, oh, yeah. And all of a sudden there's not enough money left for the basics like education. But that's the political process. As a trustee, what I would ask a lot of questions is, how are your internal controls on managing that budget? Secondly, is the record keeping. Do you have accurate record keeping? Do you have the training for the people? Right. Do they know what they're supposed to do? Because I've seen what the lack of transparency. What has happened at the Sweetwater School District is now under investigation because of illegal budget entries. The Security and Exchange Commission is investigating them, as well as FCMAT, the Finance Department. You know, so you have to pay attention as a trustee. I know I'm preaching, but I've seen the damage by board members who are more concerned about getting, or superintendents, I'm not making this up, lobster dinners to go from the consultant hired in the bond program, and wine, okay? So you got to pay attention to the details on the budget. And, you know, it's just those fundamental, I would compliment your CFO, or whatever the title is, on focusing in on the average daily attendance issue, because that's a problem statewide that needs some type of correction. The final item I want to talk about, as you can see, hopefully I'm under the 15 minutes, is the item number on the selection of, or the termination of HPLE. That is item number 14, or no, I'm sorry, 14A1. I don't come here to necessarily bash the consultants or everything. Let me just tell you what my experience was at Sweetwater when we had the issues with the management by the firm. that managed the bond program. The record keeping was atrocious. I mean, when I became bond chair, I went down, and it's really the database. You know, for those of you who are anal retentive and like do database files, folders, and subfolders and all that, I had to do that during my career. You couldn't find anything in that database unless you did a word search. I mean, it was not done very well. I also happened to look at some invoices by that consultant when I first went in there, there was a grand opening for a performing arts center at Chula Vista High School in which they must have gotten some of the best Mexican carried food in Chula Vista for that performing arts center, and they hired an impersonator right there on the invoice, paid for out of the bond funds. So again, you gotta really pay attention to the details of what's going on. I would recommend an audit. I know, it kind of to close all this up, and I get passionate about it because the quality of facilities expects the quality of education. That's the bottom line. And when you don't get it right today, you're not, you got to think about the students that are in elementary school. What you decide today is going to impact them. If you haven't done it, the board needs to have a focused, in my opinion, robust discussion regarding what your strategic goals and objectives for your facilities are, so you make it clear, you set the groundwork then for developing your master plan. When you do your master plan, you've got to involve as many people as possible and not have the consultant generate, the community should generate it, the input on it. And then make sure when you get into the details that you get that project scoping down and the cost estimates thorough and complete and double checked and triple checked. Because one of the problems we've had throughout the bond program, even and recently at Sweetwater, is the projects aren't estimated adequately. So in closing, it was a long drive. I thought a lot about this. I followed everything that's gone on over the last year. I look at the agendas. I look at what goes on at other school districts, and my intent was just to let you know that there's a watchful eye there in La Mesa. I've been through it before. I've seen it, and I just hope, because I believe so strongly personally in education, that the district needs some reflection, in my opinion, because I kind of know what goes on. It needs some reflection as individuals about what your role is and what's your decisions today, because you're going to be gone, and those students are going to have to pay for your decisions or benefit from them. It's really up to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.